for saying your name, since we both know you were not here to stay. And it's clear as day you ain't got no shame in your game. So if you're cool, I'm cool, I will not complain. But you should know, cause I know you like exactly what you say. Oh yeah, you can't drink on this one. I know you ain't used to men like me, but baby, you gon' see when we dance. Come and dance with me, I fulfill your fantasies. Your secret is safe with me. Baby, tell me, can you keep up? It ain't hard to see why you keep looking at me. Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me. Baby, come and dance with me. I won't tell your family. Only one will know it's me. Baby, tell me, can you keep up? It ain't hard to see why you keep touching me. Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me. You can say that you ain't like me, but I think that we both know we have more in common. Only thing is you put on a show. You can keep on lying till your nose looks like butter. I know you think that you're slick, but I think there's one thing that you should know. Cause I know you like exactly what you say. I know you ain't used to men like me, but baby, you gon' see when we dance. Come and dance with me, I fulfill your fantasies. Your secret is safe with me. Baby, tell me, can you keep up? It ain't hard to see why you keep looking at me. Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me. I won't say his name. Nah, I won't say his name. All you have to do is bring yourself, and I'm gon' do my thing. I promise I won't make no claims. Don't you wanna dance with me? Come and dance with me. Hey, I fulfill your fantasies. Come on. Secret is safe with me. Baby, tell me, can you keep up? Yeah. Why you keep looking at me? Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me. Baby, come and dance with me. I'll fulfill your fantasy. One will know it's me. Baby, tell me, can you keep up? It ain't hard to see why you keep touching me. Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me.
What's going on, everyone? Listen, I am not satisfied with that last live. YouTube is on some bullish, okay? And I was trying to give commentary, okay? I always plaster my copyright disclaimer, and I always say that I do not own these video clips. These are just used as springboards for bigger conversations, okay? But some shit popped off with the last live, and I didn't feel satisfied with it. And I said, you know what? Let me continue to think outside the box, because I'm not going to feel defeated because of that. So instead, what I said was, now that the ex-gay voice is rising, and I mean, if that is a form of truth, allow that truth to rise. But that's not going to be the only truth that's going to rise. Hence the name or the title of this live. We've heard ex-gay voices. Now it's time to actually hear queer people's voices. And that's why I played that song called Safe With Me by Jayye, because no shade, I was throwing a little shade. And in the chorus of the song, it says, you ain't fooling no one, 'cause I know you like exactly what you see. You can't trick on this one. I know you're not used to men like me, but baby, you gon' see when we dance. So that was a little shade. Because if we're going to continue to play this game, I can play this game too. Across the board, I'm cool with it. Okay? So the queer voice that we're going to be hearing, not seeing, but hearing. I'm trying to bend some of the rules here. Okay? Is from a YouTuber who I watched 14, 15 years ago, who, no shade, in all honesty, played like a, this is unbeknownst to them, but played like a role in me walking in my truth in reference to me being queer. I remember when YouTube was in its inception, when it first came out, and back in the day, it was more communal. You were able to do video responses, and the video responses would be placed underneath the video so that you can watch the original video and all the responses afterwards. It really felt like more so community than it does now, with it being like oversaturated with bullshit, right? And during that time, I was still in the closet. I did not affirm my sexuality. I, again, realized that I was queer when I was younger, and the first thing that I felt was not liberation. I felt fear because I grew up in a religious household. I grew up in the hood, okay, in an environment that was not conducive for anyone like me, right? So I already was in the closet at a young age before I even understood the sexual attraction and busting of nuts and all that type of stuff that comes with puberty. I went through high school, and high school was like the best 4 years of my life because I was able to understand what freedom felt like. I went to a predominantly white high school, and I did not face any racism unbeknownst to me. No shade, okay? And they made me feel welcomed, and I felt like I was more than just the color of my skin. And I started to see other people walk in their truth, and it was inspiring to me, but they didn't look like me. So that I went on YouTube, and again, content created by the name of Sarkazz, that now goes as Sarkazz Vlogs, was one of the first open lesbian women that I came across on YouTube that really inspired me to do my own walk in reference to accepting myself. Because again, I spent the majority of my youth hiding who I was, pretending that I wasn't queer. And I thought to myself, am I going to continue this trend? Am I going to be like a lot of people in organized religion who play in the part for everybody else outside of them to see? Okay? Or do I walk in my truth? My truth that people may not understand, but I understand, and that's all that matters. And that if I continue to love myself, I will attract people in my life who will love me for who I am too. For who I am and who I'm not. And she was one of the ones that really did it for me. She grew up, well, she's Caribbean, I think she's Jamaican, and she grew up in a Pentecostal religion. Her mother and father, especially her mother, are heavy in it. She had a testimony on her YouTube channel that I think she made private, or whatever the case may be, unfortunately. But she spoke about when she was outed at church. All she knew was homeschooling church. and she loved singing in the choir, but she also understood that she had attractions for the same sex. So she was in choir rehearsal one evening, and she was writing a play. And here it is, she's writing a lesbian love scene. She's never seen two women come together. No form of lesbian or queer influence around her to make her want to write that story into manifestation as far as one of her plays. But she was just writing it. And there was another woman who was a little bit older than her, no shade, who was kind of curious, like, okay, what are you over there, writing? And she said, I don't know what came over me, but something said, go ahead and show her. So she ended up showing her the play that she written with the lesbian love scene. And that woman told her, sometimes I feel that way. They ended up being in a conversation, and then about a week or so later, they ended up being intimate with each other. Well, I guess somebody at the church found out, because a few weeks later, here Sarkazz goes to choir rehearsal, and now everybody's sitting in the pulpit. She's like, in the pulpit, in the congregation, the few first rows, and she's looking around like, okay, what's going on here? Literally, the woman ended up, after being discovered, blaming it all on Sarkazz when she was the older woman that initiated it. And they gave her an ultimatum. Okay? You can either be a sin-sick soul who will always be out of God's reach and die and suffer like the rest of the queer community, because they always bring up Leviticus as far as man should not lay with man as with womankind, but they forget about continuing the scripture that also says that, these people deserve to die and have their heads chopped off and all the blood that's in their body upon their heads. So either you can go ahead and end up following your unnatural desires into destruction, or you can do which is what a lot of the ex-gays, in my opinion, since I'm speaking of subjectively now. I've already been objective. Now it's time to speak subjectively too. Okay? To become one of them. And to low-key play the game and masquerade as something that you're not. It's literally going back into the closet. Instead of this time being the closet of the world, you are going into the closet of Christianity and organized religion. Just like it said, you live in a different world, And she had to make a choice between the choir, the church, or her sexuality. And that was the first time the church broke her heart. But because of that, she's used her platform to talk about these conversations, to give light to these conversations. And because of that, it really helped me strengthen my walk with God, source, universe, consciousness for myself, at least at that time, to walk in my truth and be open and honest about my sexuality and affirm myself. And that was when I entered into my first relationship and all that type of stuff, to where I am now an openly gay man today. And I'm grateful for that experience, for me to be able to transmute my fear into something that was beneficial for me. So I also want to share that we are going to go back 14 years, okay? And I want y'all to see we're still having the same responses. Like, and I'm talking about the same responses from those that oppose queer people, because again, they're the ones that are boxed in and limited. They are the ones, okay, who are ignorant and are fear-based. Queer people's viewpoints keep growing, and we keep growing because y'all keep giving us things for it to grow. So I'm going to continue to add to what is known as irrefutable proof, which is the lived experience. Okay? And also continue to establish a credible timeline to the one thing that y'all are afraid to admit, which is queer people are a part of the experience. Regardless of how you want to view that, they're part of the experience. We are part of the experience. Okay? So before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and read disclaimer, okay? First of all, I want to say this because this is a new one. All the videos, songs, images, and graphics used in the video belong to their respective owners, and I or this channel does not claim any right over them. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay? No shade. Now, the first video we want to get into from Sarkazz, and again, all of those videos are in the description box below, okay, is a video where, well, the song, hold on. Do I have to cut this off too? Yeah, I can. Okay. This video starts off talking about God and sexuality. Then we're going to transition into how true Christians would love queer people, okay, just like Christ did. Then we're going to get into some of the ex-gay conversations, okay? Then we're going to get into some people who have these really ridiculous fear-based notions on why they don't want to be queer anymore. Then we're going to talk about how if we continue to look at it through the viewpoint and lens of Christianity or organized religion, it seems like homosexuality is a cruel joke against humanity. And last, and definitely not least, is going to be a video where Sarkazz literally just shares the experience of her walk and to remind others to do your own thing. That God will meet you exactly where you are, despite and in spite what people think, believe, or want to believe, you will still be met. Okay? That is the good news. So let's get into the first one, shall we? We go ahead and fade this one out. Where are we at? Fade this one out. And let's go ahead and get into this one here. Here we go. And we can stop this one. Yep. And I can bring this up some. There we go. All right, y'all. Let's get into the first one, shall we?
The question is, how can one say that they believe homosexuality is a sin, they are gay, but still have that belief? Now, I can understand this because I believe it has to do with a person's upbringing. I was raised in a Christian home, you know, a Pentecostal, if you want to break it down into denominations, whatever. And not even just with religion, but anything, but growing... Excuse the noise. But growing up, we're taught different things. And if we don't know anything outside of what we're taught, as we are raised, as we grow, those are the things that stay with us. Now, but also as you grow, you develop your own, I don't want to use the word personality, you come into yourself. And when you come into yourself, there's decisions you start to make for yourself. You have the teachings which you were raised with, but then you start to come into your own. Like, let's use, for example, if you were raised vegetarian, and as you grew up, say you decided that you wanted to eat meat. It's not saying what, you're not saying what you were raised in being a vegetarian was wrong, but as you grew older, you wanted to do something different because maybe being a vegetarian just wasn't what you wanted anymore. It wasn't for you. And maybe you only did it because this is what your mother, this is what you were raised, this is what your mom said had to go, your parents said this is what it is, and, no questions. So I think that could play in religion as well. Using myself as an example, I was brought up to believe a lot of things. But then when it came to put those things into practice, I realized what those people taught me wasn't actually what they were living and putting into practice.
Right.
So then I got another view of what religion was. Not Christianity, but what religion was.
And I'm glad they said that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there is this message that is preached to people who are probably wanting to come into organized religion because again, it's about how we've been raised, especially in the black community. You ain't got to be in church to know about church. There are niggas, gang niggas, girl, who understand about the church and know a few scriptures and are rooted in the church. Like, the church is rooted in the black community. So there's this message of love and inclusion and acceptance and agape and unconditional love. But then when they're actually in the organized religion and they're living genuinely as themselves, or want to be open and honest with themselves, because that's what God, source, universe, consciousness wants to connect with, right? All aspects of you, not some of you, but all of you. That if they were to do that according to your rules, you're saying that it's impossible. Now there is a conflict that's going on. And I shared a few stories about when I was in church, and I discovered what queerness was about according to the narrative of organized religion. And see queer people in the church literally be demonized for walking in their truth. Meanwhile, lo and behold, and yet having their gifts pimped of them. So again, what she is saying is that there is this message or performative way of saying that we are inclusive, we are connected to God, and God loves you. But then when it comes time for you to walk out what that love looks like, when it actually matters in application, there's a lot of struggle there. Let's continue. And yes, Ron, I'm going to have to do more research on Candace Owens, because all I know is that she was on the Breakfast Club. I got to get more into it. But most definitely, we can work on that.
So, when the young lady speaking of, yes, okay, how I interpret it, yes, I believe homosexuality is a sin. You know, we all make mistakes. You know, this is my sin, da-da-da. I can understand the point. Do I agree? No, but that's just, you know, again, I came into myself, and I had to, there's a time I went through that, when I believed, like, oh my Lord, you know, I'm gonna, this is wrong, oh my God, how can I be dealing with this? How can I love the Lord? How can I, there's a time, and I believe we all go through a period where we have to come to our own self-realization of who we are, where it is we're going, and if our beliefs are gonna carry us there, are gonna keep us there. Because I know a lot of young people in the church that are gay, and they're battling not necessarily with God and who they are in God, but battling with the people who are supposed to be godly. You understand what I'm saying?
That is it right there. Again, this is 14 years ago. That is it right there. They're not battling with God in reference to, oh, God doesn't love me, doesn't like me, because they actually spent time with themselves, away from the ears of other people, and went into meditation, which is also known as prayer in the Christian world. They would find that love on the inside, but instead of that love, they are being led to believe that God's love is real through the affirmation of other people who are telling you, in order for God to be real in your life, for us to see it, and for you to see it, which means us seeing it too, you have to do it this way. For the people who are saying that they're ex-gay, if you are ex-gay because innately on the inside, without any influence from outside of you, you are consistently feeling like this is not for you, and that a change is necessary, by all means, go ahead and change. That can be your form of evolution, because God is in all things. But just like you changing in reference to not being or choosing to not engage in a romantic, a mental, emotional, physical, and sexual connection with the same sex, that is your prerogative. But in that same regard and same respect for that way of living, there also needs to be that given on the other side as well. And it seems like one side wants to be treated equally, but don't want to give that same equality to the other side. Even in my commentary, I'm the one on my channel who is consistently listening to the viewpoints of other people who are really not trying to have an echo chamber conversation in reference to the symptoms, but have echo chamber conversations in reference to the gray area where we can actually come together and benefit all around. And as we can objectively see, y'all are afraid of queerness, which is why we use the word queerphobia. Because every explanation that people have about queerness, for the most part, is a negative one. It's not even more so than an opinion. They want to make their opinion everyone else's opinion. And it actually effectively, unfortunately, impacts the lives of queer people. But let's continue.
So it comes a time where you as an individual have to stand for yourself. You can't so much, you know, it's like me telling you chocolate ice cream is the only ice cream that exists. There's no other ice cream, no vanilla, no all these blinking flavors they have. If I'm raising you and I'm saying chocolate is all, there's nothing else but chocolate. Okay, that's all you're going to see is chocolate. There's nothing outside of this. You're not going to question it because I'm telling you this is what it is. But then as you start to, you know, you get out there and say you meet Mary, and Mary so happens to have vanilla ice cream, you're like, wait a minute, my mother only told me there's chocolate. What the heck is this? Then you may try the vanilla and be like, but why my mother never told me that chocolate and vanilla existed? Why it's just chocolate? There are a lot of things in the church. There are a lot of things that aren't taught in the church. And it's for a reason. Because it leads to questions. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it is possible to have a relationship with God and be gay. I hope that every gay person, every bisexual, whatever it is that is out of this box which people call being a Christian, I hope that you realize that God loves you and you can love him. Yes, you can. We all have a purpose. You know, it's like this user blinking car assembly line. Everyone has a purpose. No, I'm not talking about Toyota. But I mean, everybody has a purpose. If everybody was putting the car seat together, who would do the engine?
That part.
If everybody was putting the engine together, who would be doing the axle? Who would be doing... You understand what I'm saying? So it's okay to have beliefs. It's okay to have a foundation. But a foundation is meant for you to build upon.
That part, yeah.
You feel me? Because it wouldn't make sense if you just kept building foundation. Imagine you just keep building foundation, never build nothing above it. What the hell are you building foundation for? Ooh. Anyhow, let me get out.
That was it. Again, this is 14 years ago, y'all. Okay? I love how we started off with letting queer people know that God, source universe consciousness, the creator of all things, regardless of what people believe or want to believe or project upon you, that you are love, and you are loved, and you are worthy of love. Okay? And that if you continue to affirm yourself in love, the universe has no choice but to reflect that back to you, which you give out, what you put out. Okay? So now we're going to get into the second video where it talks about true Christians. Not those who are subscribed to organized religion through fear, but those who are true members of the body of Christ. That they would love, fellowship, associate, and grow close to queer people, just like Christ did all of what society at that time considered the undesirables. He was able to be the physical manifestation of the bridge between even what the lowliest of them looks like according to society. That again, no matter where you are on the spectrum, you are loved, baby. You just got to be aware of it. Anyway, let's get into that video now.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Hey, decided to jump in front of you one more time for the day. I was asked to do a topic, and true Christian people can still love gay people as Christ did. What? Christ liked gay people? Yes, it's true. I found this topic interesting because it's something I've addressed before. And I mean, I think I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face. But, hey, you're going to believe what you're going to believe. Ephesians 4, 1-6. As a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. Did you get that? All right. Okay. It's funny to me. I mean, there are several people that well, when I say several, I can count it on one hand, that I'm subscribed to that show me, I mean, I haven't met them in person, but just to watch them and listen to them, show me that they have the love which God has, which He ordained from the beginning. I don't know how some people think that homosexuality is like the plague. Or like it's a disease. Like if you are friends with me, you're going to be gay. What kind of nonsense?
And do we not see that happening today? In today's world, 14 years later. Oh, I don't fuck with him, man. He gay. Hell no, I don't do that dick in the booty ass shit. At least not openly. But you know, I don't do that shit. No, I don't do that player. Like, no. Do you see that? And she's about to make it sound, or she's going to explain how silly that really is when you think of it in that way. Listen to the example that she uses.
Doesn't make any sense. Growing up in the church, I'm raised to believe that God is love. It's funny that that's taught from the pulpit, but that it's not put into action throughout the church, and the church is the people.
Hallelujah. The church is the people.
I don't understand how.
Did you hear that? The church is the people. The church literally is built up of the community of people that live and go to work outside of the church. So these are people that you're going to meet at the grocery store, at the motherfucking movie theater, at the restaurant, okay, at department stores, in the drive-thru, your Uber driver, your boss, your coworker. Like, these people make it up. There's this holier than thou thing that is put on as if they're like, oh, if I'm a Christian, I'm automatically exempt. No, baby. If anything, your job is a little harder because you have to be more aware than anything, and more so aware of yourself than anybody else. Because you can't sit up here and help nobody else if you're not aware of yourself. Which is why I practice self-awareness. Which is why I choose to be in isolation at this moment in time to figure out what my own voice looks like. The voice that will never leave me nor forsake me. The voice that is with me even until the ends of the earth. My own personal connection that you ain't got to hear, baby, because it's for me. Make sure your antenna is tuned in. Make sure your light bulb is screwed in. Make sure your volume is turned up. Make sure your receiver is turned on.
People want to throw the word in my face, but then they can't live it. How are you telling me God is love, but then you want to tell me God don't want you to hang out with me, don't want you to talk to me, and you care for my soul? How do you reach me if you can't meet me where I am? And the same thing, how can I love you if I don't meet you where you are? Just because I'm homosexual, okay, you're a liar. It's the same thing. So if I hang out with you, do I start lying? Do I become a liar? Or do we walk side by side and take this path together? We all trying to get to one place. I don't understand it, how it is one believes that just because people are gay, that if you are to befriend them, you are gay or you are like them. That makes no sense at all. What? So then that would mean that my mother and father are gay, my brother and my sister-in-law are gay, my nephews are gay, everybody I work, my dog is gay. Does that make sense to you? This is what I call spiritual, what you gonna call them? Radical, I don't know what the heck I want to call you, but you just...
I have no idea what to call them. It's what I've been saying. Fear-based individuals. Meaning that despite all the information that is available to help them alleviate the fear, because God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind, correct? Even though there's information and resources there to help themselves pull themselves up out of the ditch, they'd rather just be like, no, I'm cool, I'm okay, I'm comfortable subscribing to my fear. It feels okay to me. And then you have an organized religion or a capitalistic conglomerate disguised behind a cross who says, hey, let's go ahead and sell y'all the remedy. Keyword, sell y'all the remedy, which means you have to pay for it. Not the fact that this information that I'm giving to you is already free and available and ready for you where you are. Not actually doing what the church was created to do, at least when it was on the right side of things, where it means it was charitable to the community, where all the resources and the funds that the church has was supposed to be dispersed back out into the community. And as we see, it's not going into the community. It's going into the temples inside of the community that you can bring your ass to. It's going to the shepherds and leaders of the house who are driving in brand new whips every year. Meanwhile, you got to buy a bus pass. And your children at home got to eat ramen noodles because you give them $100 sowing a faith seed. And yes, your intentions are good. Your intentions may be good with what you're doing because you are a cheerful giver. And regardless of however it's appropriate as far as what the money is used afterwards, you were able to give knowing that you gave in your heart. But at the same time, if you're believing in this organized setting, it needs to also benefit you, which means that if I'm giving, what am I also receiving from this as well? And what can my children receive from this as well? Because if what you were selling was objectively true and infinitely true and really connected to God, no matter who the person was, God's source of universe consciousness will be able to tailor itself, transmute itself to meet that person where they're at. Interesting. Let's continue.
It's become so filled with the Bible that you start thinking nonsense. Take a look at Matthew 22, verse 36 to 40, and it reads, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Now, if this is what you believe so much, why is it so hard to follow? If you're so heavy into the book, you see God hung out with everybody. He was the one that was hanging with the homosexual. What, God was gay? Hey, if that's what you want to say. I guess God was gay. I would think that a true Christian shows compassion. A true Christian loves. If it's the case where if you are friends with gay people, that you are now gay, you are like them, or you're curious, then that goes for everything. If you hang out with an alcoholic, you are a closet, not even you are alcoholic. If you hang out with a prostitute, oh, I guess I'm a prostitute. Do you see how it makes no sense? So then how would you put that to a homosexual who is not an acting homosexual? Oh, what do I mean by that? Yes, just because you're gay doesn't mean that you're having sex. But guess what? You're still gay. So then if I was straight and I befriended a gay person who is not acting on their feelings, does that make me gay? Or is it so much that you're just so hung up on the sex of it? Oh my Jesus, cut it out.
And then on top of that, what do you then say to heterosexual people who also abstain from sex as well? They don't act on their sexual desires. But does that mean that they're not straight because they're not acting on it? Again, this is 14 years ago, and the same points are still valid today, as we can see. Okay? All right? And when she brought up the aspect of the 2 laws that Christ asked for the followers of love, of the mindset in him to do, was once again to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul, which means also loving yourself, because God, source of the universe, allowed for you to have this human natural experience. You are the supernatural, doing the same thing Christ did, coming down in flesh to experience himself. It's just that Christ kept asking for people to become aware of that and then connect to that in your own way. So once you have loved the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul, also including the shell that encases that essence of God, to also then go forth and do the same thing for those outside of you, because if you are aware that you are a little God connected to the big God, then everyone else around you are little gods as well. And we manifest and create every day. Everything that we use is a manifestation that has been created. This motherfucking microphone that I'm using, somebody had to create it. This fucking laptop that I'm using, someone had to create it. The software that I'm using, OBS, shout out to them, because I'm starting to fall in love with them, and this is just the first time, girl. I don't want to slow down, okay? Someone had to create that. This damn weed that I'm smoking on from the earth, something had to create that. Some sort of consciousness, some sort of frequency, some sort of energy created this. And there is so much more shit that we don't even know. Because especially with us over here in the West, in America, being Americanized, literally being a test ground, or one of the test grounds to try to push humans away from nature, where a lot of God is, a lot of supernatural stuff is. Okay, let me stop. Because some of this is going to fly over some people's heads. But that's okay, because they're still trying to work things out. It's all right. I was once at that level too. There's levels to this shit, and I have so much more to ascend to. And just like Sarkazz shared, we all have a purpose. But one of the purposes is not hating on someone else. One of the purposes is to not discriminate against somebody else. All that other shit as far as queerphobia, racism, all those forms of discrimination based upon ignorance, that is not anything of purpose. Let's continue.
That I'm subscribed to a handful that I do believe are Christ-like, not Christian, but Christ-like. And I admire you. I admire what you do. I admire the things you say. And for one thing, I can only see your videos on here. I don't know about it, but I can only go by what is presented to me. And I appreciate you. And I want you to keep on doing what you're doing, because guess what? As you are showing love for everybody, that's what Christ has called you to do. For those of you who are Bible thumping and who are upset about those who are delivering the word of God, and guess what? Still visit homosexual pages? That's your business. God is love.
What that private browser looking like? What that vanish mode looking like? What it look 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 like? What did it look like? Baby. Not we fall down, but we get up just to fall back down again.
Above all, God is love.
Yeah. Ultimately, yes.
I got a book for those of you who may be stuck. So if you stuck and if you're wondering why, someone is saying I'm a Christian and they are friends with homosexuals, guess what? God wasn't a homophobe. And if you're supposed to be so godly and Christ-like, get it together. Honest opinion, no, for real. It's those who are mad because you fight in your own self. And you can't fight, and it's hard for you to see like, dang, how can this person be friends with a gay person and they're not gay, but I'm over here struggling, oh my Lord. If they only knew, I think that's the problem. Don't be mad. Because there are those who are just love. I'm out, y'all. Peace.
Baby. Okay, now the third audio clip that we're going to hear is going into the whole ex-gay situation. There's been a few times where she has responded to people who are ex-queer, okay, and this is one of them. It's entitled Mine and Yours in reference to our own individual walk, okay? Despite the fact that, look, we can talk about what's objective, which means that you can do what you want to do. But since we're going to play the game of being subjective as well, and you sharing your subjective opinions, let me share mine as well. Let all truth and all thought be exposed, okay? And that's exactly what happened. So this is her, because we just heard her opinion and perspective about what she believes about ex-gay people. That just because your ass don't act on it mean that you're not gay anymore. The whole desire has to be removed. We're talking about God here, who again is not the author of confusion, right? So it means it has to be completely removed. No evidence that it was there. Unless it, only thing that was left is a story. Is the past. That is not your present and it is definitely not your future. But let's take a listen to what she shares in reference to her objective perspective about it. Let's get in.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Just want to pop in here real quick. I'm on a PB break. Whatever. I'm responding to a video response of my video. I was gonna write it, but I'm like, I can't bother too much to write.
That part.
With God, all things are possible.
Yes.
I respect everyone's decision. What I'm talking about here, if you haven't get it from the title, is ex-gay. This is a video response to an old video on my other channel. If I've spoken about this before, if you're ex-gay, if you believe that you're delivered from homosexuality, hey, I support you. But in that same support and that same respect that I'm giving you, I reserve that same thing, and I believe I deserve that same thing. It's okay if you believe that you're delivered. If you believe homosexuality is something that you need to come out of, go ahead and come on out.
And I've even said that. If you feel like that, you renouncing your sexuality and your desires innately inside of you without any sort of outside stimuli, that is a change that you desperately need to make for you to feel free, and you've made that transition, and now you're living life and you're having a more fruitful, healthy, a balanced, aligned experience where everything just seems to be falling into place, then by all means do it. Again, there are multiple pathways to freedom. Find your way to freedom. But just like she stated, with God, all things are possible. So you can still connect to God with being ex-gay, and there are people who can still connect to God despite their sexuality or the interpretations of their sexuality through a book. And that both realities can definitely be honored. Because at the end of the day, if that was not the case, God, source universe, would have not allowed it to happen. Okay? Let's continue.
But respect me as I'm going to respect you.
Mm-hmm.
Your decision, I should say. Put it like that. But again, I'm going to say it again. Just because you don't sleep with women or sleep with men does not make you not gay. It's the same. It's like people are so hung up on the sexual act of it. What is the Bible? What did it say? So man, think it's so he. Yeah. In your video.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. And when I think about it, especially now, looking at it, and really, it's really what I originally thought, but I'm having a clearer context now because of this audio clip, which again was 14 years ago. So we're still talking about the same things 14 years later. Again, and just like the comment I read on the last live about how a lot of these patterns and habits that we've seen ex-queer people speak about is that them being so knee deep in drugs and alcoholism and promiscuity and all this other stuff, trying to numb themselves from the reality of what queerphobia is like and how it can actually affect your life. And they get to a breaking point because they're suffering with depression and anxiety. And instead of the church coming through to love and affirm them like Christ would have done, that despite what society may think or feel or believe about you, that I see you as whole, healed, and complete, and a human, and most importantly, a fellow child of God, or how I view God and view Christ's energy, is basically love. If in the book it stated that God's source universe consciousness knew us before we was a twinkle in our daddy's eye and a sperm cell in the nuts, that while that situation was happening, that I was known and it was already ordained as far as my path, which is self-actualization, my own soul salvation being worked out. So if from the beginning all the way to the end, and even after the end, this thing has promised to never leave nor forsake me, unlike human beings would do, then why can't someone walk in their truth and love God and love the other forms of God expressed through the same fucking sex? Let's continue.
Video at the ending, you say, "I know homosexuals that don't have the thought." Did you catch that? I know homosexuals that don't. You calling them homosexuals?
Mm-hmm.
Just follow what I'm saying. Okay. Who is to say God has not met me where I am?
That part.
Again, I commend you on this transformation that you're doing. But it's an individual's choice if they want to be ex-gay, not gay anymore, but go ahead. I'm not knocking it. But for those who are gay and accept that they're gay, that's a choice as well. And it is possible to have a relationship with God, be in God, and be
possible,
gay.
Right? All things, not some, all.
Because again, I'm using myself. I can, not be sexually active, but I'm still gay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, for me, when I say
I'm
have
not
the thought
sexually
of
active
being
either.
gay, it's not a sexual thing.
I want to be sometimes.
If you take away sex out the picture, you think you don't have to be, you're not gay anymore?
That part. Because it's more than just sexual attraction. There's mental attraction, being attracted to the way that someone thinks, someone shows up as. You can fall in love with their emotions. How when you're going through hard, difficult times in your life, instead of seeing it as you bitching and moaning and complaining and oh my fucking God, get over it, I'm going to be emotionally aware enough to share with you in this moment and let you know that even though shit is fucked up, you got a strong, rock solid motherfucker right here. And I ain't talking about my dick. I'm talking about my presence in your life. Because again, there are some people who do honor the forever, that do honor the better or for worse, the sicker and the sickness and in health, richer or poor, till death. And that is not something that is mutually exclusive to queer people. To heterosexual people. Because if that was the case, the divorce rate, would not be where it's at, and the foster care rate would not be where it's at. See, when you start dealing with God, it's about being aware enough to try to make all this shit make sense. Which is why I encourage other people to think for themselves too. That's why I be all over the place, because it be so much shit. I'm already 5'2". I can't do that fucking much. A nigga might dress like a leprechaun and a Power Ranger, but I need help from the gate.
That's the whole problem, when it comes to this whole, ex-gay thing. The whole idea is strumming on this sex.
Only.
Yeah.
Only.
Once again.
Only.
I commend you on your transformation.
Sex only.
But as for me,
in my house, in my temple,
I'm not going to use that, oh, God knows my heart. No, I can truly say it. I have a relationship. I have a rapport with the Lord.
Okay.
He doesn't know everything I do. I'm not sitting here just like, oh, my Lord, it's just homosexuality is on. So my whole thing is, are you going to walk this life as nothing? Is it, when you came, if you want to say God, takes this thorn in your flesh away, don't you think he replaces it with another? Mm. I know the Bible, so don't. I know it. This is...
Or what she is saying is that the difficult yet jarring, terrifying, yet fulfilling and empowering truth is that no matter what life throws at you, you have the ultimate power to control what you think and what you feel about it. And if you become aware enough in the situation, God, source, universe, or the lesson that you are meant to learn will present itself. And look at the actual footsteps of Christ according to the narrative of the Bible. He ends up being murdered because of that. He knew that niggas was gonna betray him. He knew that niggas was looking for him. He knew there would come a time to where he would have to walk out and show humanity that no matter where I am, even on the most deadliest, darkest, deepest, bloodiest, most demonically infested, most ridiculed, no matter how low the vibration is, bitch, I'm gonna show you hoes, girl, who God really is. To where I can act the way that y'all would act because y'all not aware. But I'm gonna go through all this shit to prove to everybody. And according to the narrative, that's exactly what he did, which is why people to this day are singing that can't nobody do it like Jesus. If you believe that, then that must mean everything that Christ did was in vain then. These conversations I've come to accept and realize, especially with me being more knowledgeable about myself mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually and metaphysically. There are going to be some people who are afraid of truth so much that they will literally demonize it, and if they have the chance, take your ass out for that. All because of your existence. But if you did not build your foundation on discrimination, or basically trying to avoid being accountable by the status quo, because again, you're stepping out of line and you're aligning with them, so you're against us, instead of sacrificing your or forsaking your privilege in the world, you rather just keep it because it's safer. What's up, Queen Amber? Happy birthday. Happy birthday. That's why Christ said in the book, or was interpreted through the narrative. Oh, damn, I just had it. I just had it. Oh, I was going somewhere. Oh, I was flowing. That's another thing, too. I'm learning how to flow in what I would consider my Bubzzzfloww or whatever. There'll be moments where I have like a disconnect because something will throw me off. I look at the chat. But yeah, when you establish a personal relationship with your creator, or personalized relationship, a custom fit relationship with your creator, your life will change. And there are other people who are afraid of that change because again, they need you to be beneath them, so that they can rise and that they can live and be their best selves. Not self-actualize and find their own power, but bend people to their will. Oh, you're doing the bending? Bend people to their will and manipulate them, which, in my opinion, my subjective opinion, is what I feel like a lot of these churches and organized religions are doing to a lot of ex-gay people's stories. Because again, what these people are saying is no different than the people who were in Exodus during the 90s, all the way up for a few decades before the creator of Exodus, the people who brought it into fruition, and even some of the people who are the poster childs of the ex-gay movement had to come out years later and apologize for all the destruction that they have caused through fear instead of freedom. And you better celebrate all your birthday, okay? Your birthday is all the rest of this week. This month. Let's continue.
Well, I can come in front of you and say, he meets you where you are.
Yep.
Now, if it's a part of the journey that he needs for you to walk in, for something he needs to bring, a place where he needs to bring you, he will prepare you for whatever it is.
Yep.
I'm not going to come out here and preach, oh, be delivered from homosexuality. Da, 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 da. All I can tell you, God loves you.
Yep.
If you ever need to talk to someone, if you ever need to have faith in someone who has faith in you, that's what I say, trust him. And he will do the rest. You get it? So it's his choice. If he says, Samantha, I'm going to pull you out of this, that's something between him and I. I'm not going to come on here and tell you, you need to be delivered from that. You know what? I can tell you the goodness of God and what he has done for me.
That part.
So say I'm going to be I'm not gay anymore. He's taking me out of this. I can come on here and tell you, I was doing such and such and such and such. And God wanted to take me here a little higher. He said, you know what? This might be a little bit of a problem for you, so I want to move this out the way so you can go so and so. I'm not going to damn you because this is where you are, but I need to take you a little bit over here. So I'm just going to shift this over here. That's what I'm going to do. Because everybody's walk and everybody's testimony is not the same.
Mm.
Could you imagine if that everybody in the world is the same testimony? Kind of not. God have a sense of humor, you know that?
Hell yeah, I'm sure.
So, on that note, I'm going to end it. And like I said, baby, if that's your walk, if he's delivering you, go ahead and live your testimony. But please, let me live mine. Peace, peace.
Okay. So now we hear her sharing her objective opinion, right, on the whole ex-gay situation. Correct? She basically just stated that if that is something that you need to do for yourself so that you can self-actualize and be connected to God's universe, do it. Do it, and do it till you're satisfied. But don't sit over here and tell me that I have to do it the exact same way you did. Because again, God is in all things. And even as a queer man, I feel empowered walking in my truth. Even though the world outside of me is afraid of me doing that, and is trying to do everything to prevent the next generation from doing that, because the next generation can get it while they're children. When they become adults, it'll be a whole different game to where, guess what, the same bullshit won't be happening, and we can be a step closer to actual inclusion and to actual understanding and celebrating humanity without there being a threat to all of us for us to fucking get it together. Which it seems like that's what's going to have to happen in order for true, genuine connection to come through. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, if that part comes, I'm going to be doing a lot of I told you so's. I'm going to be using a lot of very colorful language. And hell, if we already going to hell, I might throw in a few goddamn 3, 4, 5 pieces because we all going to have to fight now. When we could have been taking this time to really prepare ourselves and get ourselves together for what's to come. A reality where every knee gonna have to bow and every tongue gonna have to confess. And some of that shit gonna be scary as hell. Now, after that response, there was someone who was ex-gay who responded to that video basically saying that when she used the scripture, so a man thinketh, so he is, I guess that scripture triggered the fuck out of them because again, the performative part is, I'm going to stop having sex. I'm going to abstain from sex. Or at least sex with people or a gender that I want to have sex with. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop thinking about it. Or the temptation is not going to cross my mind to go ahead and do it. But according to that scripture that's in the book that you used and said against queer people, we're literally just using the same playbook that you're doing and just being objective, again, seeing everybody's blind spots by saying, well, so a man thinketh, so he is, which means that even if you don't act upon it, every action starts off with a thought. Like, has there been times when you just sit there and talk to somebody and you had the random thought come across your mind that was like, what would happen if I just slapped the shit out of them? I just punched them in their throat. They ain't doing nothing, but what if I just did that? You know what I'm saying? Or if you drive it and shit and you get road rage and a part of you says, well, hell, what would happen if I just ram the back of this motherfucker like I'm playing GTA or something? But it was a thought. It was a thought. So that kind of triggered them. And because it triggered them, they responded by saying, hey, Sarkazz, that's a cop-out. Oh, that's a cop-out. But it's in the book. It's in the book, though. If we're going to play the game by your rules, okay, cool. Let's do it. Because, again, a lot of queer people grew up in the church, so we know what the church knows, and we understand they don't know a lot when it comes down to gender and sexuality. Nor do they want to learn about it. Meanwhile, I'll be doing this shit behind closed doors and then get mad when they get exposed. Well, if you did it right, there would have been no exposure. So let's take a listen to her response about that scripture in the book being a cop out.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Just wanted to drop in here real quick. Yeah, I said I'm not gonna go over and over and battle the whole ex-gay thing, because my whole thing is, like someone said in the last video, basically seek your own soul salvation and worry about your relationship with God. But I wanted to jump in on something. There was something I said in my last video, and it was responded to as me using that was a cop out. And what I said was, so a man thinketh, so he is. And it was said as a cop out for somebody to do anything they want to do. Now, if that's the meaning to you, that's the meaning to you.
Right.
But to me, that's not the meaning, and that's not how I take it. Understand, I have this, any book, so 3 people can take a book up and read it, and 3 people are going to have, guess what, different interpretations, just as the Bible. Now, every thought that anyone thinks can become your personal reality. So, who is to say that my reality isn't that I can love a woman and still search and run after God? You feel me? Now, look. You have so much blinking denominations. This one's saying, oh, you have to do this to get to heaven. This one's saying, oh, you got to do that to get to... Look, do what's best for you. Do what's best for you. Because at the end of the day, guess what? We're not standing side by side and saying, Lord, no, I have to face him for myself. You have to face him for yourself. Now again, my reality is, yes, I can love a woman and still seek and search after God. Still love him and he loves me. That's my reality. I can't speak for anybody else. I will not speak for anybody else. Because everyone has to have their own relationship. I don't know how many blinking times I can say it. You have to have your own relationship. I cannot ride on the coattail of my mother and my father. Their blessing is their blessing. It's not mine. Yes, it may trickle down, but I have to know him for myself.
That's it. That's it.
That's...
And a lot of queer people, the ones that have self-actualized and actually healed from their stuff, had to work that out. And do you know how terrifying that is? How scary that is? And again, being able to do it in a world that is already against you, that takes a level of strength, a level of courage, a level of admiration. And there are so many right now whose lives have been destroyed, or they're destroying their lives, and not just their lives, but the lives of other people, simply because society has indoctrinated them to believe, made them believe that who they are, in reference to something that the church is fear-based and fearful of trying to understand, because it exposed their ass to. That God, source, universe, consciousness loves you, and that even with sex can be used in a beautiful, healthy way. Sex was not created solely for the purpose of reproduction, because if that was the case, that would just be the fucking case. There are other purposes for it too. People have sex out of pleasure. Some people have sex to release stress. And when you educate yourself on the spiritual aspect of sex, you realize that that is the strongest life force that you have, and that if you know how to do it consciously and have a higher awareness mentally and emotionally, you can use that energy to literally transmute your reality. That an orgasm literally is the connection, the uninterrupted connection between you and the divine source, where, in the words of Lauryn Hill and D'Angelo, nothing even matters. Your car can get repossessed, Your mama could get shot and she could be on the way to the hospital. Your damn kitchen could be on fire. Your damn toddler child has fallen down the stairs and can't get up. You gonna let that nut ride out. They gonna have to wait. Just be real. But this system has taught us to pervert that and to make that a lustful thing. To where now you're having sex with other people. A lot of them, you don't even fucking know their names. You don't know who they are. You don't know their history. And then you're creating these soul ties with them. You're not trying to figure out how to heal from these soul ties. And now, instead of going to therapy or trying to figure out what's going on, to speak it into existence as far as the pain, work through the pain, the guilt, the trauma, and all that shit, and get to a better place, instead of doing that, you go along and further infect other people spiritually with that low vibrational energy. But at the same time, they did not know that because they weren't properly educated. So there's a lot about sex, and a lot about sexuality, and a lot about gender, and just a lot about humanity that we don't fucking know. Especially over here in the West. We have a lot of unlearning and then learning to do.
That don't make no blinking sense. That's like, okay, my parents going to school and they, okay, teach me this every now and then. What do I do? Keep on relying on them to teach me? Guess what? There comes a time when I'm have to get up myself and go and learn if I want to carry on that knowledge. You feel me?
That part.
And it's the same thing you can apply to anything.
That part.
Have your own relationship. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you know, this is what you have to do. If that's what you have to do, you do it. But let me find my pathway to Jesus. Because you know something? There is one destination and there are many roads.
Hello.
Holla.
Just like the roots of the tree.
So if you want to walk on this straight and that, go ahead. If I want to, let me go. But believe what you want to believe and stand on that. Don't let anybody shake you because guess what? You're not shaking me.
That part.
But I just need to correct you. No. I'm not saying as a man thinking so yes I can do what the hell I want to do. Not at all. Because again, all your thoughts create a reality for yourself. Whatever anyone thinks for themselves, they create that. Yeah. You know, if you think negative shit, you're going to draw it. Yep. If you think positive, you're going to draw it.
Yep.
So again, I say to you, seek your own. And don't worry about what anybody else is doing. If you deliver and go on to glory, hallelujah, you're not gay, go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. If you just want to share that, but don't put someone else down. Because I'm not saying you could be ex-gay, ex-whatever the hell you want to be. But don't tell me, oh, if you don't do that, blah, 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 don't do it. Work on yourself. And like I said, let me work on mine. Yo, I'm out, y'all. Y'all be good and good to each other. Peace.
Okay. Y'all heard her. I concur. I agree with everything that she said. No shade. And then again, this is 14 years ago. So we're still having these same conversations. The last live that we heard before we got interrupted about some new YouTube bullshit, right? They were saying the same thing, and it's kind of like, y'all, when you deny the experiences of queer people, you are also denying the other expressions of God. You're denying the fullness of God. You're trying to put God into a box, and God does not and cannot and will not belong in a box. There is a time where you also have to start casting your nets into the depths of God. And you start doing that when you start loving yourself in the midst, in spite, despite, especially if what you're doing or how you're living, or how you're expressing yourself or experiencing life is not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually hurting you or doing that to other people. So now we're going to get into, I believe someone submitted a scenario to her and she put herself in the shoes of the person where there was an individual who, in a very interesting and kind of like way of them saying that they no longer want to be gay. Just very interesting. And I'm going to allow you guys to hear it from their mouth. So again, this is a story that she is sharing with us. Let's continue.
Hey y'all, what's going on? Just wanted to pop in here. I had a topic request, a question. Anyhow, let me jump right into it. I'm gonna put myself in a situation. Please follow along, and at the end, drop all your comments or whatever. Okay, so I've been in a relationship for some time now. You know, it goes through its good times, its bad times, but you know, me and my girl, we made it through. Now, you know, unfortunately, her father just passed away. And before he passed away, you know, my girl, she hardly had time to spend with him. Upon him passing away, and, you know, time is gone, it's hard, you know, still dealing with the, you know, it takes time for you to get over the death of a parent, especially if y'all were close. So, you know, it being hard on her, of course, that, you know, it rolls into the relationship, so we're both going through it. And I'm trying to be as supportive as possible. But I just, it's just been brought to my attention that her father never knew that she was gay. She led me to believe that, you know, she was already out to him. But it's now, you know, after he's passed, she shared that he never knew that she was gay. She never told him. And now she's telling me that, oh, you know, since she never told him. Well, the reason for not telling him is, you know, she didn't know how he would react to her life, you know, her, you know, the kind of life she was living. And now that he's gone, she believes that his soul is dwelling in her, and he's going to be disappointed if he sees the life that she's living. So she don't think she and I could be together.
Girl, what? Wow. So when grandma passed away and you had your legs up in the air and you was getting your coochie ate or whatever, you think grandma ain't see it, grandpa ain't see it, you ain't think none of the ancestors said it, see it, some of the people who went to your church, them church mothers ain't looking down and shit. But now that your father has passed away, now you are ashamed to basically walk in your truth, and now you don't want to be intimate with someone that just a few weeks ago you was good, and now the death of this stuff happened. And again, I don't know if it's still a part of the grieving process. I don't know if she feels guilt and shame to where it's like, oh well, wasn't really connected to my dad like that, and then on top of that, he didn't know that I was queer, so in the spirit. And if so, what the hell he gonna do? Tell Jesus, don't let her ass in here. You see that shit? What? And I'm pretty sure your father is in glory, dancing in the midst of unconditional, raw, just genuine, authentic, intensifying, oh my God, it's over level 9,000, ass loving energy, to where he ain't worried about shit on earth. Have you not heard the stories of individuals who had near-death experiences who low-key did not want to come back? They said, oh no, I don't want to go back to this shit. Can I stay up here with y'all? Just for the spirit guys to say, no, you have to go back. Girl, so it's very interesting. So let's hear Sarkazz's response to that story.
Okay, now I'm coming out of the situation. So that's the whole gist. Now, when I first read this letter, I was like, that's some what? Okay, I have certain questions. My first question is, before this incident, did the girlfriend express that she had these kind of beliefs where, you know, spirit travels into other bodies? That was my first question. Like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you believe in that, you know, spirit of the dead is going to live in other bodies. I'm wondering, did she express this religious belief or this belief before now? The second thing that came to my mind is, she's a liar. Because my thing is, why are you gonna wait till now, till after your dad died, to let me know that you never told him you were gay? And then now you want to tell, then you want to say that it may be a problem for us to be together because his spirit might be in you, so he might be disappointed, so we can't be together. That's kind of a lot you trying to get me to swallow. Now, the person's asking me, what should they do? Honey, honestly, I really can't tell you. But let me put myself back in the situation. Oh, really? So you didn't tell your dad, and now you're afraid his spirit is in you or watching over you, so we can't be together. And it's not going to be a fact that we can't be together, then what? You just probably ain't going to be gay anymore, because who you going to be with if you think that, you know? But then again, coming back out of the situation. My thing is, were we having problems before and this is the easy way out? That's another question I had. Yeah.
Let Jesus.
Yeah, I'm going to need y'all help on this one, because I really don't know what to tell you. It's like, to me, it's wild, because my whole thing is, I think I'd be more upset is that she lied, because, you know, why did you wait till now to tell me that you was not to your father? And then, okay, and then on top of that, then you want to say we may not be able to be together because he may be living in your, his spirit may be in you, so he's going to be this. What? What am I supposed to do with that? Really? What am I supposed to do with that? Peace, y'all.
Oh, that was fast. That was quick. Okay, cool. All right. So that was that. So we have 2 more audio clips, y'all, and then we'll be done. The next clip is basically just a philosophical moment that she shares, because one thing that I really appreciate about Sarkazz is that she is somebody who studies to show herself approved. When I had my old YouTube channel, I kind of was taking some or picking up some of her isms. Like, for example, when she would try to define something or try to add context to something, she would pull up a dictionary to break the word down to kind of help make it make sense. So, you know, she knows how to do that. But I think she asked a question that a lot of, unfortunately, self-loathing gay queer people who, when they're trying to change and they're trying to alter their sexuality, and they're not even really altering it from a genuine place, because if they probably did, maybe there would be some sort of change, but they're doing it because other people want them to, and not because they really want to do it. But for the individuals like those who are part of the ex-gay ministries, who are struggling with trying to change or having self-deletion ideations, they pondered the question of, is homosexuality a cruel joke upon my life? And she is going to break down some of what she would consider to be a cruel joke if she was under the indoctrination of organized religion, as opposed to finding truth and freedom in the God within her, just like Christ did and encourages all of us to do. So let's take a listen. Video 7. Here we go.
Hey, y'all, what's going on? My lunch break.
Hold on, you kind of low. It ain't that low, is it? Okay, let me turn it up some. There we go. Hold on.
Yeah, I know I'm always thinking, so just wanted to make this quick video. This week on one of the collab channels I'm on Relevance TV, we're talking about God and sexuality. I mean, it can raise so many questions, but I was watching one of my, call them colleagues on the channel. His video today is very good video. This is in response to it. I just have a lot of questions, or not even questions, just things I was thinking about. Okay, a lot of what he says, you know, I've heard it before. I agree with some, disagree with some. And my questions are basically, okay, which I already agree with, God hates sin. And using his example, saying that sex out of marriage is a sin, is wrong. Okay, so then if that being the case, then is it to say the homosexual to be gay is like a cruel joke? Because, all right, we're not allowed to get married. So then is it that, all right, we notice that we're gay, then we realize we got to be celibate for the rest of our life? I mean, that's kind of cruel. Wouldn't you think it's kind of cruel? You know, you having this desire, this love for somebody, and well, I'm supposed to just, you know, what? Just for the smile, I stare at you and look in your face. You know, if it's the case where, all right, God hates sin, and again, just using your example, that it's sex and it's outside of marriage, where does that leave the gay person? I said the gay, I don't like that. Where does that leave a gay person?
That's a good question. Where does it leave? Oh, they gave us the answer. You live a life that God will bless. Okay? It is a blessed suffering. Okay? That you didn't ask for. And no shade. If it's going to be a blessed suffering, let me get the blessed part too, which means that if I'm not going to be able to marry, fall in love, share my love physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, okay, with the partner of my damn choice because of this book, I need to be making love to some money or something. I need to be making love to some discounts on some shit or something. Like, I need for y'all to sponsor ex-gay people or something to give them an incentive to not go out and do shit. I mean, hello, if that's going to be the case, if I'm going to be ex-gay, can I at least be an ex-gay millionaire? Can I get 80% off my Comcast bill and my DTE bill and the rent and the car note and the subscriptions and shit? Is Hulu gonna give me some shit? If I live righteously right, I'm gonna get righteous discounts that I ain't gotta wait to die in order to cash. Can I cash this shit on here? Because if I'm gonna be born to go and endure this cruel joke, because to her point at that time, using sex out of wedlock, one of the scarlet letters. So you have to be married to have sex. And at that time, queer people could not get married. And in the present day, there are groups of people now who are in positions of power with money and power and influence who are trying to revert back to that. So they can get married and also share their intimacy with each other, even though America is very sexualized. Very sexualized. That now, if I were to give in to my desires because I suppressed them so much, and now it's a very big thing, not something that is manageable and tolerable and something that I can control, but now we have reached a breaking point and now I've lost control. That's still a sin. And my thing is, until y'all bring the blessed part of the sacrifice into the situation, no. Girl, no. But see, that's why I'm glad I don't subscribe to organized religion. I consider myself to be a follower of Christ or love, and I use Christ because that's the most, I guess, that is an image of faith that everybody around the world knows, and it's the most relatable to me. But at the same time, the mindset part about Christ is what I'm starting to work on within myself. The mind that is in Christ, let it also be in you by the renewing of your mind and not hardening your heart. You need your thoughts and your emotions to manifest. And if you are aware of them, you can be a deliberate co-creator in your existence, which is what I'm learning. But if you subscribe to organized religion and you want to be ex-gay, these are the questions that you have to think about. And if your answer is yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way, by all means, go ahead and do it. That's your walk and that's your path. But just like Sarkazz mentioned, there are multiple paths to truth. Just make sure you're on a path towards truth. a truth that will liberate you, that will help liberate others. And if so, I would say to liberate others in love. There are ways to liberate others in other ways, but ultimately to do it in love, because that is the inclusive thing. Because it's really love that's keeping this whole reality together.
I mean, then does it come that we, I mean, so like even with that idea, it kind of then makes me understand why some people will suppress what they feel and then go and be with the opposite sex just to please society. It kind of makes me understand why.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all have sexual desires, whatever it may be, and sex is not a bad thing. People make sex out to be a bad thing, for whatever their reasons are. But again, is it a cruel joke? Because if it's the fact that you want to have sex within the confines of marriage, what does a gay person do? Yeah. Just thinking. Anyway, let me go.
Okay. Now, through the midst of all that, again, we started off this live with Sarkazz speaking about God and sexuality, and how at the end of the day that you are loved by God despite and in spite what other people through ignorance and their own fears might believe or want you to believe and pay attention and like put your energy into believing as well. Then we move on to, okay, we were talking about this spiritual ethereal thing that with the physical eyes, supernatural is different. With physical eyes, we cannot see, knowing that we are covered and we're protected. Because we also look out in this reality and see that the universe takes care of everything, right? Now we're moving forward towards the physical manifestation of Christ, which again is to come down from the spirit realm, from the ethers, into the physical realm to show us, so that now we have a hands-on experience of how to walk a life that is aligned with God, which really in all actuality, when you transcend the box of religion, you just realize that God is power. It's not even its real name. It's just something to signify or to label this thing as power. Which is why there are so many people around the world that can call on this powerful thing in different dialects, in different tongues, in different names, and it still manifests intently and impactfully. Then we move on to the people who are ex-gay that are saying, no, you have to change, you have to change. Because if you don't change, then maybe, well, it's going to sound shady, girl, but again, we speak subjective here too. No shade. If you don't change, then I'm going to feel like I can't change. Because even though I have a wife now, after knowing them for a few months and getting married, even though I have kids on the way, even though I was not properly prepared to be a parent, because I'm bringing a whole nother fucking human being into this planet, into this world that is going to affect the world and the worlds of other people that I hope that I'm prepared to deal with. But now I have all these things, but yet the desire and the thoughts are still there. We've even had Jackie Hill Perry. She is the only individual out of everyone that I've heard that has shared their ex-gay testimonies who to me was the most realistic, who said, look, I still struggle with the thoughts of being with women, but I'm making a conscious choice to deny that part of myself and go in a path that I feel that God has called for me. I can't be mad at that. And she even checked the church in reference to how the church has demonized queer people to where even the queer people that want to come into church and establish a relationship, they can't because your voice is interfering with the voice of God. Or you're acting as if though your voice is the voice of God because these sinners have come into the church and you've been in church all these years. Well, didn't they say the church is a hospital for sin-sick souls? And who the fuck trying to stay up in the damn hospital? So if you've been going to the hospital for 10, 15, 20 years and you ain't still get healed yet, You can't be talking shit about the new person who just came in the hospital when your ass is apparently living in the terminal section of the church. Hello, somebody. But the last clip is a clip to remind you that in the midst of you making a decision, if you are a person who is queer and you're struggling internally, you do have choices and you do have options. There are going to be pros and cons to both of them. But do the one that works best for you. Because at the end of the day, and as the last video states, it's your walk. It is your life. You came, I say it all the time, and I say things all the time in a habitual way so that y'all can understand it. I know how to work with the subconscious, or I'm learning to. That your experience and what you feel about life is valid and is genuine and is authentic, but yours is not the only one. And that's why here on this channel, I like to do these reviews and give context and nuance. And I've actually connected with people on opposing views, and we've actually become cool. No shade. BubzDaGawd is one of them. I went from being an individual that commented on his videos, which he never responded to, but then once I tagged him in my video with his newfound identity, we had private conversations. We had that one public conversation that kind of went to the left, unfortunately. We're supposed to be having the second one. But the conversations behind the scenes for hours, I was able to tap into the humanity. He was able to see my humanity. And amidst all the black and white that's being thrown, we keep forgetting that when you take black and white and you mix it, what color do you get? Gray. So regardless, whether you're sharing the black and white or you're throwing the black and white at each other, eventually there will be a gray area. And that's the area I'm focused on. The only way that everybody is going to be satisfied is if we come together and find a way to make everybody happy. And it is possible. Because again, with God, all things are possible. And if you don't believe that that's possible, then you don't need to be believing in God yet. You in the wrong faith. You in the wrong way of believing in something. So regardless of what you think, at the end of the day, it's your walk. Here's the last video. Let's get in.
Yeah, my whole thing is, what's bothering me, what ticked me off this morning with this Blaze Man person, and it's with other people in general. It's like, I think honesty really lacks in the churches, wherever. Now, I can only speak for where I've been, and that's in the Pentecostal church. It lacks, and I've experienced where you cannot share with anybody what you're going through because it's the fear of, they're going to look at you differently, kick you out, and I've been through it. And so my thing is, why I watched this video, and I commend what Tony did, is because he was being honest.
And again, this is on the heels of the Tony interview with Lexi 14 years ago that she's responding to. And somebody, I guess, left a response underneath one of her videos and she's responding. So.
Honest. And I think that scares people, honesty. When someone is real. Because oh snap, now, oh wow. You can walk in front of me, walk and look, talk in my face. Nothing is hidden. You know my stuff. So what? And what? So my thing is, what? They're now gonna bash him because he said he's gay. Okay. And those who assumed he was gay before, now that he has opened his mouth and said it, okay, what has changed? What has changed? Because he confessed it? That makes no sense.
Doesn't change him as an artist, doesn't change his talent, doesn't change what he can do and what he does. It just changes the perception that other people have. And unfortunately, people judge him for it.
And that's the whole thing. And if you want to, so we're going to throw these scriptures, judge not LGBT. Yo, look. My thing is, before anybody can say, look in the mirror and tell yourself what you're trying to tell me. And then when you have convinced yourself and you're free from sin, then you can talk to me.
I don't think such a person exists.
It's not because he has come out and he's been honest with his sexuality. No, that does not give anyone to say, oh, it's like a thing where it's saying, he is saying, where I don't take it to me to believe he's saying it's okay to be gay. No, he is being honest with himself and God, himself. And this is what I'm trying to say, it's your personal walk. He didn't come out and say, oh, okay, come on to me, all you gays. He was being honest with himself and God in public. How many people can do that? And that's what I commend him on. When the church can be totally honest, then you can throw scriptures to me left, right, and center. You can do it. When the church follows everything the Bible is saying, then you can say something to me. But as for me and my house, I am going to seek him for myself. I'm going to ask him things I need to know for myself, for my walk. Because people fail to realize, guess what? We all have a destination, but we all not going to take the same road. Don't mean I'm not going to get there. You may get there a little faster. Sure, I could walk outside and drop dead. You may take 10 years till you die with illness. But guess what? We all going to get there somehow. And then in the meantime, guess what? If you want to walk together, walk together. But don't try to stab me in my face and kick me in my shin while we walking. Don't do it.
I like what you said in the video. I can't get you into heaven, and you can't get me in as well.
But I don't think people really realize that.
No, they don't. I think they automatically assume that if whatever they're thinking, that everyone else should be thinking, that their ideals should be everyone else's. People don't realize that no matter what kind of, like we were talking about before, in any particular group, even though they might be acting and saying the exact same things, it doesn't mean that they relate to those things or think about those things in the exact same way. Exactly. It's not possible. We're individuals. That's the right word. We accept things, we see things through our own personal experiences, and no matter even two twins who were raised in the exact same family, in the exact same church, in the exact same way, with the same teachers, with the same everything, I can almost guarantee you that it's not possible that they think the exact same way, because certain things that happen in life, certain friends, certain people, we experience things, and because of the way we experience them, that's how we interpret the rest of our lives. And there's there are no two people who have experienced everything exactly the same. Even if they're twins, even if they're in the same family, they still have different experiences. So how are you going to tell me that because of your experience, this is what you believe, and therefore I should believe it as well?
But then, the argument can be, but the Bible, look, you can take the Bible, have two people sit side by side and read it, and they come up with two different interpretations.
What?
Yeah, I mean, again, there was a pastor, I forgot his name, he was a famous pastor. He said, if I was on an island by myself and I only had one book to read for the rest of my life, it would be the Bible, because every time I read the Bible, I learn something new. Every time I read the Word of God, the so-called Word of God, I learn something new every time. There is a new revelation, because at the end of the day, God, source, universe, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is known by many muck names. I think I lost the thought. Damn. This why life be fun. It be the suspense of it all. I might as well be known as BubzDaGawd, the cliffhanger. You was about to say something. It'll come back to me. Oh, I was about to say something too. I was about to finish it up too and press play. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. It'll come back to me.
Obviously, come on.
What are you going to tell them? Oh, you're wrong?
Even you, do you remember that
Oh, yeah, there we go. It's always something new, something new. So, again, God, source, universe, consciousness, whatever the name is, cannot be explained. Okay? Thank you, universe. Came right back. It cannot be explained. It can only be revealed. God cannot be explained. It can only be revealed. Universe cannot be explained. It can only be revealed. Consciousness cannot be explained. It can only be revealed. Source cannot be explained. It can only be revealed. And there are new revelations that we are seeing. Maybe if these people learn to love themselves so they can discover new revelations about their lives, they wouldn't be over here worried about queer people finding revelations in theirs. And at this point, if your revelation is ex-gay, do it. Despite what my subjective viewpoint is, do it. But do you see how I can also share my personal opinions, but tell you to go ahead and live your own life as long as you ain't hurting yourself or other people? That's cool. That same respect, even though we can agree to disagree, there still has to be some respect there. So if I can respect you to live your truth, respect me enough to live mine. Or we can play the demonization game either. We can do that too. Because at this point, I'm kind of with all the shit. That's why it pays to leave certain people alone. Okay? Let's continue.
For a while back, you kept on pulling up scripture out of the Bible to whoever you were, to the pastor that you were talking about, where it was actually, you were quoting saying that if you interpret it in this way, it'll mean something completely different than the way they interpret. A lot of the stuff, when it's such a massive amount of information, can always be interpreted in different ways. Again, we interpret it depending on what our experiences are. But if it's open to interpretation, there is no way that you can treat it as a fact. It can't be a fact if it could be interpreted in two different ways.
So yeah, this is my whole take on it, Anyway, y'all could drop your comments, join in, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I just wanted, and everybody in between, I just wanted to just share some of the queer voices. And again, this is somebody who, again, 14 years ago, at the age of 34, was speaking about their queer experience. I'm going to be 33 this year. So we're already 14 years in the future in reference to her videos, and how, again, we're still talking about the same thing because we're not trying to break out of the box. We've found a way to be comfortable with the box, to be comfortable with the FEMA coffin that religion has put us in. But like a wise mystic once stated, religion is God's coffin. It's where God was, right? And also, too, when you're flowing with the spirit, you're either going to do one or two things. You're going to dwell in a temple and hope that the spirit comes to you, or you're going to have what is known as the tent experience, which is the open-mindedness and the awareness and studying to show thyself approved, which means that you are a constantly flowing spirit, which means that there will be moments of rest, okay? Periods of rest and relaxation. But once spirit is up, you have to move along with spirit. And that spirit is inside every single one of us. I don't give a fuck what anybody in the church is saying to you. I want you to understand now, under the sound of my voice, God, source, universe, consciousness loves you and affirms you where you are, and is affirming you through this vessel, this leprechaun vessel known as BubzDaGawd. And I'm also living it through this vessel known as BubzDaGawd. We all have an opportunity to really make a genuine change for real. But this time, especially with this level of awareness, we're going to have to put in the work. Christ came and did what Christ did. When, according to the narrative, when Christ hung his head and died, he stated what? It's finished. I'm done. I've done what the hell I was supposed to do. Now it's in the hands of humanity. Humanity can't sit up here and say, oh, I didn't know. Or, nope. Love came through and showed you. Tales of love has came through and showed you. The Bible, even though it's not a complete book, shares stories and allegories of human beings having a divine experience, a supernatural experience. And then when Christ is inserted into the narrative, because again, there has to be some truth to some of this stuff, as far as the allegories is concerned, that now Christ is teaching you or is trying to show you how you can have your own unique divine experience in your life. And according to John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever shall believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. That whosoever, who, not this except for these people, that, no, whoever. That love, that inclusion, that connection, that no matter where you at, that love is available for you, is there for everybody. Which is why everybody's testimony can sound different. But if you listen to everybody's testimony all the way to the end, you understand that there's a common theme there. And that theme is freedom. And I'm all for people being free. But it's another thing to know freedom for yourself. And even to me, learning to walk in my freedom can be terrifying. There are times where I thought I made the wrong decision. There are times that I thought that I was crazy to believe that it could happen to me. There were times where I felt like I had to go back to leaning on other people just for people to tell me, oh, I told you so, I knew you couldn't do it, you need me. I didn't want to hear all that. A lot of insecurities in my mind from my childhood that still ring through my head sometimes. But it gives me the opportunity to face it. And maybe for ex-gay people, they feel the same way about their thoughts. But regardless of the thoughts, as long as you still choose in the midst of those thoughts freedom and learning how to transmute whatever the situation is for your good, because again, God isn't everything. We've been taught to be afraid of the dark. And not just afraid of the dark, but afraid of what's in the dark. But what's in the dark is what we create. We give it power. We do that. And what I'm here to do, the purpose of this channel, in just one of the facets of my life that I'm called to in reference to activism, is to champion for oppressed groups of people. Because a lot of people just look at how people act in reference to the symptoms and then judge them for that, but then feel some type of way when that mirror of judgment falls back and reflects back on that ass. On their ass. But if you continue to learn to love yourself, I promise you, God's source universe consciousness will show up in so many ways for you. If I look back over my life and look at the younger BubzDaGawd as a child who was queer and being bullied and didn't even know what the fuck queer was or the sexual aspect of queer until my later years, because I was a late bloomer. When I look back at that little boy, I'm surprised that that little boy was able to push through and get to where I am today. I'll be having meditation sessions where I'll be crying because I'll be visualizing myself hugging my younger self and telling my younger self, I'm proud of you. You didn't know, you didn't have any healthy representation of queerness at the time. You grew up in a religious household. You had one queerphobic experience that kind of altered the relationship with your father, and I'm grateful that my relationship with him has gotten better. That at that time, having a toxic viewpoint of myself because of the church and because of society and my peers who were children and youth at the time, that I was able to survive all of that. And even as an adult, I survived some of the shit that we have to deal with in reference to being queer. that shit affects our lives, even down to our romantic lives. I spent the majority of my 20s chasing love, chasing romance, putting myself in situations that were low-key compromising certain aspects of myself, because I was too busy trying to love other people who did not love themselves. And I was hoping that the love that I gave them would be in such an overflowing abundance that they would have no choice but to share that with me. But I came to the realization that before there's any sort of equal love going back and forth, not ebb and flow, but a continuous giving and receiving of love, that person has to know what love is for themselves first. Then they have to tap into their own overflow, so that two overflowing, abundant motherfuckers can come together and manifest a beautiful life. And I attracted individuals who were hurt and were broken because of queerness, in reference to the queerphobia surrounding queerness, to where some of them were self-loathing, who didn't feel like they were worthy of someone loving them, that they were fucking up their own goddamn blessings at that time. But once 2018 came about, which brought forth my ego death, that shocked me to the reality of life, and that when I was at the lowest point that I've ever felt like I've been at, I thought my youth was dark. But this whole trying to love myself thing was dark in the beginning because I didn't know what that was like. I was too busy giving love to people. I didn't know how to give that love to myself. And that cycle broke me, but it broke the false part of me. Just like the story of the three Hebrew boys, that were in the fiery furnace, who felt the heat but were not burnt by that. What was happening is that all the false things were burning away. All the false things were falling apart, such as the thoughts of, I'm not enough, I'm too short, I don't make this amount of money, I don't have this job, I'm not as attractive as this individual. What about my quirks and my qualms? What about my weird side? I'll be single for the rest of my life. I'll never be able to share the love that my parents shared with me with someone else. That I'll never obtain true, genuine happiness, because at that time, for me, genuine happiness was being in a romantic relationship, because again, that was going to be the objective way of what I thought the universe was going to do in reference to loving me. But 2018 taught me that I had to learn how to love myself. And when you haven't done that before, of course, in the beginning, it's scary. Because if I was to believe and put all of my belief inside myself, if I really was to believe that, if I really was to believe the promises of God, Source, Universe, Consciousness, Christ, that I am worthy of it, if I was to believe all this and it did not come to pass, that I believed the world's greatest lie ever told, and if that is the case, I wouldn't know if I would survive it. And I remember saying to myself, God, Source, Universe, Consciousness, this is it. If this don't work, death is going to be the next option. But that's how we know it's God, Source, Universe, Consciousness, because it's usually when we get to the last part or the darkest part is when it shows up. That's how you know it's God. In the deepest, darkest parts, where the light still shines, that is God. That's how you know God for yourself. Okay? But anyway, I want to say thank you so much for joining me for this impromptu live. Again, I was not satisfied with the live that I did a few hours ago. Oh, you cut this down some. Okay, baby, you kind of just messed things up for me real quick. There we go. Thank you. Okay? But I decided to come through. And we're going to continue these conversations in reference to ex-gay, because I'm actually enjoying these conversations. For some people, it's triggering. For me, it's helping me. It's like challenging me, or like I see it as sparring, being able to challenge myself, my triggers, my thought processes. And iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? Especially when it's in a productive, conducive way. I'd rather it not go down the Laugh-A-Palooza hell-bound road. But if we have to go down that road too, we will. But I would say that for the last resort, I'd rather us just have a conversation and come to a mutual, genuine understanding. You know, but I'm going to do what I can, y'all. So, yes, thank y'all so much for taking the time to rock with me on this live. I really appreciate it. If you could, please make sure that you hit that like button, okay? Because it helps this channel to grow in the algorithms so that we can expose more people to BubzDaGawd and really get these conversations going in different areas, okay? Because there are some areas that are craving this type of awareness, this type of conversations, and I'm gonna need your help to help us get to those people, okay? No shade. If you like the vibe over here on BubzDaGawd, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you can stay up to date with all of my lives and updates and community posts and all that type of stuff. And if you feel compelled, you can definitely hit me up in the CashApp, $BubzDaGawd. We take any and everything, okay? Baby, just like how Christ and love is unconditional on the spectrum, we the same way when it comes to CashApp, okay? Shout out to all of y'all that came through in the live. Shout out to the replay gang. And please share your thoughts and your opinions and perspectives down below. Let's have the conversation, okay? And until next time, everybody, peace.